The dark truth about Qatar's World Cup 2022. One of the largest capital campaigns in human history will culminate when Qatar kicks off the opening game of the 2022 World Cup versus Ecuador a few days ago, mid-morning for American audiences. It is universally recognized as the pinnacle of the sporting competition. Over 3 billion people across the world tune in to watch it online. It can win or lose a person millions of fans and ignite a fire of pride and loyalty in them. Regarding international sporting events, the World Cup soccer tournament, which takes place every 4 years, is in a league of its own. It has also been the center of its fair share of controversy, not least because of the Federation Internationale de Football Association governs the event. Corruption probes have hounded this organization for years. However, the World Cup and FIFA have received unprecedented criticism this year. In today's video, we're going to see the dark truth about Qatar's World Cup 2022. The decision to have the World Cup in Qatar was made almost a decade ago, since even the richest country needs time to prepare. The timetable is comparable to the Olympics. The primary justification for choosing Qatar was that the Arab world deserved to host, having never had the honor before, and that Qatar, one of the world's wealthiest nations, would have no trouble supporting the games. Labor issues. Qatar developed 7 stadiums, an airport, subways, and roads for the tournament. Migrants made it possible, and for them, the glossy new venues have come at a considerable cost. The Gulf region has long been a magnet for South Asian, African, and other migrants searching for employment, and millions were drawn to Qatar for construction projects during the previous decade. Workers from Nepal and India may support their families with these occupations. Human rights groups and media have revealed abuses in Qatar's migrant employment system. The trouble starts early. Migrant workers get jobs through recruiting agencies which typically charge high fees despite Qatar's ban. More than 2/3 of World Cup workers paid a $1,733 recruitment fee, according to a 2021 audit. That's a large sum for migrants who must work under terrible conditions to repay the loan. Breaking even can take months or years. Work visas require employer sponsorship or kafala. Companies have used sponsorship as forced labor, confiscating workers' passports to prevent job change. Qatar introduced rules in 2020 that allows migrants to shift employment without supervisor permission, but Human Rights Watch found they haven't been properly implemented. Human rights groups have protested the working conditions. Some migrant workers died while working in the scorching heat to meet the building deadline. In 2021, a Guardian study showed that 6,751 migrants from 5 South Asian nations had died in Qatar during the previous decade. Deaths were likely higher because the investigation didn't cover migrants from other countries. The data didn't show if these migrants were working on World Cup projects, but a human rights scholar told The Guardian that most migrants in Qatar were likely involved in the construction frenzy. Qatari officials said the deaths were normal considering the volume of migrants. World Cup projects saw just 40 migrant worker deaths, with only 3 due to labor accidents. According to government reports, many deaths are due to natural causes and cardiac arrest, but heat stress may be a factor. Rights groups, football associations, and former players are arguing FIFA and Qatari government to compensate World Cup migrant workers, but they haven't budged. Qatari officials have mentioned labor reforms during the last decade in response to demand. Human rights issues. International human rights organizations are concerned about how Qatar treats other groups. Qatar is a Muslim country administered by a monarchy that restricts political and civil liberties. Freedom House, a government-funded charity, rated the country not free in 2021 with 25 out of 100 points. Along with the exploitation of migrant labor, Qatar's suppression of women and LGBTQ individuals has received criticism. Qatar restricts women's freedom. Human Rights Watch says male guardians can decide if their female relatives study abroad, marry, take specific government jobs, and access reproductive health treatments. Extramarital sex is illegal, and women have been prosecuted for reporting rape. LGBTQ persons endure repression. Men's consensual sexual interactions are unlawful and incur a 7-year prison sentence. 6 LGBTQ persons were held without justification and beaten and sexually assaulted in prison, according to Human Rights Watch. Last week, a Qatari World Cup representative called homosexuality a mental disease. Human rights groups and fans have called on teams and government officials to boycott the games, and Dua Lipa has refused to perform in protest. Like the Beijing Winter Olympics, which rights groups and Western authorities lobbied to boycott over human rights violations in Xinjiang, the primary spectacle will go on. Well, that's all for today's video. Tell us in the comments section how this one was. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing for more. And don't forget to give comments and provide us with your valuable feedback. We'll see you in the next video with some more interesting facts and stories. And until then, stay tuned.